I'll never forget, it was foggy, it was a full moon, and my dad kept saying, someone's in the back seat.
The dog that was running toward the screen hightailed it and ran back and outran the dog running away from the screen.
Tommy, you like my spot out here?
Not bad. Yeah, it's pretty well covered.
Yeah. No one can hit me out here.
No, not especially when you got swamp on that side, swamp on that
Exactly.
side. You know they ain't coming through the swamp area.
Will actually help you find it, bro. He's never been hunting his life, bro. He found a spot of blood on a leaf. I was getting nervous, man.
Yeah, I said, look at the bottom of that brush. And they're sticking right out 2 boots. Yeah, 2 boots. I don't know if there was legs in them boots. The real blue holes off a Piney Hollow Road. No bottom. The locals would tell their kids, don't swim in the blue hole.
On an occasion, a giant suck hole would come up, a big whirlpool, and suck you down into the abyss.
The legends are, of course, the Jersey Devil bathes in the blue hole and he pulls you down.
So you have to have fire in the Pine Barrens. It's essential. Without that, the ecology goes to hell. It doesn't work without fire.
In order to open one of these combs, the temperature needs to get somewhere around 180 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, those pines have to burn to keep going. I went to my mom and said, Mommy, what are you? She said, Irish and Italian. I went to my father and said, Daddy, what are you? He said, Injun and piney. The teacher said there was no such thing as piney, and there was no such thing as Injun.
When Europeans first came, they named it the Barrens because they couldn't grow their traditional fruits and vegetables. One thing that does grow well here are cranberries and blueberries. Throughout the Pine Barrens are scattered the remains of villages which once included 1,000 residents, and you can barely discern that anything actually happened there today.
Yeah, that's my idea of like just the pine he had to his old George. Right? He was a hard piney.
So like dived into the bushes.
The Jersey Devil was born on
Went
East
down
Point
this one
Road.
road, and a guy came out and shot
Son of a crash!
God, I needed this. You smell that? You smell the pine needles baking? That's a summer smell. I've been all over the world, but I've never been in a more fragrant forest. There's so many beautiful scents, and they all mingle. Some sweet bay plant right here too. It's the most fragrant leaf. Oh man, that's good. Hi, how are you? You got about another mile. Yeah, you're right at the top of the lake right now. You bet.
Oh, man. Come on out. That is gorgeous.
There's always controversy, who's a piney and what makes one a piney. So I'm not really apt to say who's a piney and who's not. Sometimes I often get aggravated with people who try to claim a redneck mantle as part of their piney identity. This is my pet peeve. Some people, hey, that's their identity. They're welcome to it, but you ask me, claiming to be a redneck does not make one a piney. Some folks forget the Mason-Dixon line ends at Delaware. It doesn't come across it, doesn't come across South Jersey. But yeah, I guess in some ways it's my connection out here. It's my weaving. My mom's father, his family's entirely from the Pines. Last name like Bozarth, if you find Bozarth, you shake a tree out here and Bozarth will fall out of it. But for me, it's also a connection to my native ancestry, my mom's side, my grandfather's family. Some of his ancestors are local Lenape Indians. The Lenape are part of the piney culture. Hell, as I said, the Lenape were the first pineys. Right now, if you're wondering, I'm straightening these ribs. Really, with rattan, these rattan, I see, broke. I used to see his picture of my great-grandmother all the time. It was just very, very haunting image. My mother actually told me that she was afraid of the picture when she was a kid. He'd always have displayed in different places. Sometimes be on the TV, and maybe like a few months later, I'd see it on a dresser. Maybe a year later, it was, you know, on the table or something. A very dark-skinned woman with really prominent Indian-looking features, and anytime I'd ask about her, I was just told, she was Indian. She was an Indian. So I got researching, looking into things, and learning more about it, and I went as far as to go meet Lenape from Oklahoma in Canada. That's where most of the tribe had moved to. Around high school, I really got into that side of my family ancestry, really embracing it to the point where it was like, sometimes I felt it might have been going a little overboard. But yeah, it is when you're young.
When people talk about the pines, they're not really saying out there, they're saying deep in there, because the place is completely ringed by what we call civilization. The fact that 1.1 million acres of wild land, or semi-wild land, in this sea of asphalt and commercial corridors and infrastructure, can even still exist is something of a miracle. I don't know how it would keep sane if it weren't for this place, really. We found a stand of Skyzea pusilla, also known as a curly grass fern. It's a species of fern that doesn't look like a fern. It looks like a sketch of a plant. It's a really unobtrusive plant. It has these squiggly little green fronds that hug the ground here on cedar bogs. And then it throws up around this time of year this sporangia. It's like this very thin, slender little stalk, and on the end of that is a sporangia. It looks like a little bit of a toothbrush head. And that dries out and disperses the spores. And it's one of the rarest plants in the Pine Barrens, and we found it today, so it's a pretty big deal. I'm being very careful about where I'm stepping, because these things are very particular about where they grow. Oh my God, it's right behind me. Look at this, it's everywhere. I can't get over how many there are here. I've never seen this many.
every piece is, well, every piece, like you can see, is different. It's the lineage of where it goes back to, where it started from. This glass is already made, and made by somebody that had to do this for a living, probably like for $1 a day. Because this was made to be a window or a bottle or a jar or something, some kind of ware, you know, back in the 17 or 1800s. And before it was made into that, they threw this away because they didn't need this color that day or whatever. And I'm taking this piece and doing my jewelry with it. Plus just the glass itself. I mean, you know, the composition of glass, it's, you know, sand and potash and other chemicals and then different stuff they put in there to color it. But it's all just molten earth from, you know, millions of years ago. It's got soul. You know, this is a piece of New Jersey forever. South Jersey.
These are the white-fringed orchids. These are Platanthera biflera, which roughly translates from Latin in English to something like eyelash mouth. This is one of the showier orchids in the Pine Barrens. The only one that probably would give this one a run for its money is the pink lady slipper orchid earlier in the season.
South Jersey Gas wants to build a natural gas pipeline through a section of the New Jersey Pinelands Natural Reserve. It would allow a power plant to convert from coal to gas and would require a special exemption from the Pinelands Commission. Four former New Jersey governors, Byrne, Florio, Kane, and Whitman, wrote a letter opposing construction of the pipeline. Well, today in Radio Times, we hear a pro and a con.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the adoption of the November 4th minutes. Do we have a motion? Any questions or comments on the November 4th minutes? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstained? All right.
Resolution dealing with application number 2012-0056.00.
First time I've ever seen four governors get together to send a letter on a specific project because it's that dangerous.
I would say that as many people as are opposed to it, and I'm aware of the letter, there are an equal number of people that are in favor of the project.
The people who are in support of this project are all those who are looking to economically benefit from it. The people of New Jersey and the people who live in the region do not want this pipeline. There's going to be more air pollution from a power plant that was supposed to close, making it the largest greenhouse gas emitter in all of South Jersey.
We've been working very closely with the Pinelands Commission staff for well over a year.
I mean, my tax dollars go to pay them to protect the Pinelands. So I'm really just confused.
It gets a bit monotonous in the summer, actually, with the exception of a few orchids here and there, and some interesting bog flowering plants. It's more of olfactory interest than it is visual interest in some ways. Some people don't care for it, but I like the stillness of it. I like the torpor, the serenity. It'll start getting raucous soon enough out here when autumn hits. Everything falling and the wind kicking up. It's like a summer nap right now. It's nice.
Your stomach making what noise?
Just my stomach, somebody else's stomach.
This is where they used to dump all the time.
They did, but back there, that last one.
Right here? Bone.
Was there more near it?
Nope. Just the one.
There's a bog out there. That's where we can lose people. There's a crossing that leads into the swamp. You get into the swamp, you're lost. Common folks don't listen for cars. You know, you can hear the highway out here.
Yeah.
Cars going up and down. Or they don't look at the sun when they go in. They don't look at the moon when they're down. They don't know which way is up. And everything around here looks alike. If you get out here in this woods, see how he is right there?
Yeah.
In a thicket where there's no paths, and that's down there to the right, before the swamp and after the swamp. You get into that, you can't tell where. I did it one time and got lost. The old man had to come get me. Then he explained, what?
I still have a perfect sense of direction.
I know you do. You're brought up different. He told me, you get lost, if you don't pay attention to what you're doing, you're done for. If we can take somebody out of the street and put them back in here and they don't know crap, they won't come out for at least a week. There's a lot of them out here that think they're smarter than other people. We had one guy bragging that he was a good deer hunter, and I walked him in, I palmed a Tootsie Roll in my hand. Because if you palm it just right, it looks like a deer turd. Well, I bend over and picked up a deer turd. And so this is the way you can tell if it's a buck. You smell it, and then you hold it up, check the color, and then I dropped it behind my back like this, pulled up the Tootsie Roll, and I said, then you taste it. And he's sitting there watching me. And I said, well, that was sweet, so it's got to be a doe. Try one. Here, I'll give you one. Handed it to him to put it in his mouth, and I'm going, you stupid son of a... He just kept chewing and chewing. I don't taste nothing in this. I said, no, it's a real deer turd, you idiot. I showed him, I got Tootsie Rolls. Almost killed me.
Oh, I bet he's pissed. You put shit in your mouth, you're just stupid.
That's nasty. All them guys come out here and go, let's hunt for the Jersey Devil. And they walk through here and they shine their lights and they put their little infrared things up there. Look, it's got wings.
I have yet to see anything like a Jersey Devil yet.
No, neither have I.
Because everybody always asks me, you're always out here all the time. Like, I see coyote, I see deer, I see people doing crazy
Your
stuff
buddy
out
Bob
here.
believes in him.
Oh, Bob.
No, Big Bob.
Oh, Bob? Okay, yeah.
If you swear to
I'm not saying there's not a Jersey Devil. I'm just saying, you know, who knows? It's a story.
It's a story, but it's been around a long time. Now, it happens to show, if you ask your grandfather, if he still remembers, his grandfather took a shot at it.
You're shitting
But
me.
he said he shot at it and it flew up and it was big. He just opened up a 10 or 12 gauge double barrel. Boom, boom.
I've never heard that family story.
It was covered up. But if you ask Grandpa, you know, he might be able to tell you now. But I don't know, because his mind, you know, he's going back into history now, so he might be able to tell you.
Yeah.
Dad's 90.
Well, his brothers are dead. I mean, he's the last one.
He will be 90 in a couple months. It's just me and my dad. Normally my brothers are out here and they've got friends out here, but it's been dropping off left and right. Everybody's got things to do. Let's go up to Sandfield.
All right.
Let's see if we can find some bones. Where'd my son go? Go, Tom.
It had parts of horse.
That did. This thing looked back.
Yeah, 10-gauge shotgun. He pulled the barrels. Bang, bang, and it made you say something.
And it wasn't any creature that you recognized.
He was supposed to have killed something like 75 pigs.
You could see this hunched over form about yay big.
Old Mrs. Sorbinski. You remember hearing about her? She woke up in the middle of the night hearing a commotion outside, and she ran out there to see what was going on, and there something was attacking her dog. And so she grabbed a broom, ran out there and started hitting it with the broom. Well, it let go of her dog and turned around and blew out a little blast of fire at her. You know? It didn't really hurt her, you know, it just singed her eyelashes a little bit.
Yeah.
And then,
Wham! Into the back of the truck, right? And then, up.
The way I learned the Jersey Devil was Mother Leeds. In fact, it was a real person. And Mother Leeds, being from Northern England, she practiced white witchcraft. She was going to have a 13th child. And Mother Leeds also kind of irked her neighbors by bragging about it being a 13th child, and I hope it's a devil. And when the child was born, it was horribly deformed. So I was told that Mother Leeds locked it down the basement away from the other children. They kept it well bedded with straw, fed it. And that child was 2 years old. It came out of the basement, went into the nursery where it killed two of Mother Leeds' children. Flew up the chimney or jumped out the windows, then ended up in the Grissom Swamp.
It must have had hoofs like a goat, and then some people say it has horns, but it's got wings as a bat, a real long tail.
Looks like a head of a horse.
There were 6 straight days. I think it was 1909, right? All over South Jersey.
Yeah.
You know, policemen reported it, city councilmen, people with reputations at stake said, yeah, I saw this thing. People wouldn't leave the house. They wouldn't go to work. They closed schools because they were afraid to let the children out of the house. People would wake up in the middle of the night hearing these strange shrieks and howls outside. You know, they'd hear like this pig squealing, and then they'd hear the sound go off, you know, up into the sky. Like a little flying horse or something like that.
Bob Baker, he said he saw it the one day, but it was a lizard going up beside the house. I seen it, The Bob.
Out of nowhere, we hear this loud, like, blood-curdling scream.
Yeah, it was like a horrible, frightening scream. And yeah, it was in the summertime. You can see the shot going through the beam of the light. That stuff passes right through.
Me and Jane, we're coming through the woods. We came through the back way of the blueberry bog.
It screams again. It flies off out into the woods.
straight grain Jersey cedar. Beautiful, beautiful wood to work with. It was a good thing to have light decoys. The lighter decoy is more buoyant on the water, giving more lifelike movement. The heads are carved separately. This is a little broadbill I'm working on here, a lesser scalp. The Gibersons originally come by all this property from a land grant that was granted the Giberson family, and it was given to them through Charles II of England, and it sort of read something like, you may cut all cedars that grow on the river Mullica and lay claim to the land thereof. Wherever you will find an Atlantic white cedar growing in southern New Jersey, most of the time you would find the Giberson who was there to cut it down, sawed into boat lumber, or lumber to build houses, barns, and other buildings. There are 3 privateer captains buried in one cemetery here. I am blood related to all 3 of them. I'm in my 27th year as mayor of the city of Port Republic, and I love it. I get $700 a year for being the mayor. It was fun to hunt and hang out with Grandpa, who lived right across the road. He had the true self-sufficient farm. You go into the hen coop and feel under the hens for a nice warm egg, and I'd take my hat off and carefully put a couple eggs in the hat, one for me, one for Grandpa, and put the hat back on, and make my way over to the smokehouse and pull open the door that was weighted so it would close to keep the flies out. And you walked over and you pulled the knife out of the stud and you grab up a slab of bacon and cut off about 4 inches of it and stick the knife back in and take this in with your fresh eggs. And Grandpa would slice it down and cut a loaf of handmade bread with his beautiful bread knife. And God, I love to watch my grandfather cut bread. He would slice the bread down and then spread homemade butter on it. My grandfather used butter like mortar on a brick. He died of hardening of the arteries. I never met a piney who needed for anything. A piney had the self-assurance, the common sense that was handed down through generation and generation of how to live off this land. And this land, being what it was, had so much to give and so much. And it was there for the taking for these people. So I'm proud to be called a piney.
The proposed 22-mile South Jersey gas pipeline had been rejected a year and a half ago by the Pinelands Commission.
Now it's back after a court battle, but before a reconfigured
Briggs insists Governor Christie is behind the commissioner replacement and will stack the New Jersey Pinelands Commission with political allies. Commissioner Leslie Ficalia says she never saw it coming. Ficalia says there was a lot of pressure from the Pinelands Commission staffers to approve the pipeline project.
The Judiciary Committee has voted to confirm Governor Christie's nominee as far as controversial appointment. Commissioner Bob Jackson lost his seat after voting against the pipeline.
Real estate agent Jean Janarone was appointed the new Pinelands Commissioner effective May 1st. Janarone was unavailable for an interview with NJTV News.
stock type R.
Yeah, well, it wasn't completely stock. It had cams in it, but
Yeah.
stock.
I wish I never got very much CRI.
Compared to Woods, it was stock.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the fucking application.
Yeah, man, I can't believe somebody stole this shit, man.
Remember Wood did a mini? You got another one.
Yeah, single
Yeah,
cam
the
too.
rest.
Sketchy.
Oh,
It was
once
a
I
sketchy
get a
puddle.
nice
We were
cow
like, yo,
picture
fuck
bumper,
this. We're
and trust
driving
me, I'll
through
be
the
hitting some
woods.
trees.
That's what the dude was doing. He
Oh,
pulled out of the
man,
mud
yo.
hole
Oh, I
into a
got the
tree, knocked the
video.
whole tree over.
I was like, holy shit. Yeah, right there. Just drove right into a fucking tree. The tree fell right down.
It's just like,
Holy shit.
Yeah, for real.
straight timber.
What's that, quarter mile?
Nah, this is the mud hole.
Dude, he was fucking
Yeah, right past the
strong,
campground, the ranger's office. Go past that and bang that right.
Yeah, if I had 4-wheel drive, I'd be doing this shit too, but...
Does he have a snorkel on that thing?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Yo, the whole back of his Jeep was flooded. He had a
Yeah,
tarp
that
in the
shit
back.
was fucking
floating.
That
B16A.
You know, Sean?
Yeah, it was B16.
Yeah,
He's got a nice
And
bubble
then
in
A1,
Dylan's
that's
car and went over to the BK. We were in the Ran Tuesdays. And I hopped in the car. I was like, I'm out. Chaz looks at me like, go ahead. I was like, all right, well, you gave me permission. Don't be all high and mighty because you got a V8.
You got a blue Teggy now with all like on gold fucking track R's and shit.
That thing fucking moved, man. That 350Z.
Alright, I hate to say it, I gotta get out of here though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better ride out in a little bit.
Cranberries are funny. It's like some berries do better, some varieties in some farms, some do better on our farm. They sort of are very quirky and they only like certain areas. Like I tried to grow bluebell for a long time, which was on Simplace, but it didn't like it here at all. I guess it missed Simplace. It didn't seem to thrive, which I was very sad because that actually has a blue dust on it. It looks almost blue, and then if you rub it, you can see the red. It's very neat heirloom. A connoisseur could tell you they taste different. I could not tell you. My father could have probably told the difference between each one. I mean, some are sweeter, some color up differently, some have like a little tang to them. I know that I can tell the tang for sure. Some of them are a little wilder flavor, like the early Richards are wild because they were the first ones here. Then some people, they like the white ones. Some people say the white ones are sweet. Some people say the white ones are sour. So it really depends on your personal taste. The Pineys always assured me that you couldn't really have a good sauce unless you put some white ones in. And if you really wanted a good sauce, you would put frozen ones in too. That might have gotten frozen during the frost. That's what was passed down to us. And we've tried to keep some of the older varieties. I know Ocean Spray doesn't like that because they want everything to be uniform, because we once asked them about that. The farm was started by my great-grandfather, and when he went to the Civil War, my grandmother and my great-grandmother ran it. When my grandfather died, then my two uncles, Uncle Ethelbert and Uncle Ernest, ran it. It's around the turn of the century, and so my grandmother got my Uncle Ernest's part, and so that's how she ended up here. And my father and my uncle and my aunt took over the farm, after they did. And my father, that's what he retired to, was working on the farm, and he really loved the farm. My father was very disappointed because he wanted to make it to 100.
The only reason all those acres of forest are still there is that the Pinelands Commission, for whatever faults it's had over the last 34 years, has always respected the distinction between forest and preservation areas and growth areas, which is where the development is encouraged.
Putting a pipeline through the middle of a forest preserve area where there are naturally occurring forest fires that can happen is, a disaster waiting to happen.
And it's in violation of the Comprehensive Management Plan.
We do agree that the project does not meet the Comprehensive Management Plan requirement that it be built primarily to benefit the Pinelands.
This time, the company said more specifically how the project would act as a necessary backup power supply.
That new piece of information verified, ironclad, that all the gas was going to be consumed in the Pinelands.
Environmental groups say that's not possible. The plant provides both power and gas to counties outside the Pinelands region.
Quite frankly, this is the same pipeline, same road.
This opens a Pandora's box that undoes the whole Pinelands Comprehensive Management Plan, and that's why it's so dangerous.
Well, Jeff, let me answer a couple of follow-up questions, and I do want to get some
Did Shelley write the poem Ozymandias? Ozymandias refers to this traveler in a desert plain, probably Nineveh in the Bronze Age. And there's just a pair of stone feet and a shattered head. And on the plaque, it basically brags about how everything you see around you right now is under the auspices of this great emperor, and how you should shudder in fear and drop to your knees in supplication. And of course, you look around, and the ravages of time have left nothing in its wake but desolation. Because, I mean, every time you're out here, you're walking among ruins that are being reclaimed by the forest. This place puts you in your proper place. Everywhere you go out here, you're running into built structures that are being subsumed by the grown. There's a text that you're reading in the landscape as you go. You can read the landscape and tell what was once there. It reminds me of a Chinese scroll, like those old painted Chinese scrolls where you have these beautiful old hills covered in mists and clouds, but you don't really get a sense of the human element. You don't get to fully sense the place until you come across a little temple with a bridge leading to it, with maybe a couple small figures in the distance. And then, for whatever reason, that ignites in the mind's eye a whole series of associations that allow you to enter into that landscape in your mind and travel and traverse it. And it also allows you to find your own place within that larger landscape. Never do quite escape the noise. There it is, New Jersey.
My father and my Uncle George, were known for their snapper soup. They would get the snapper to bite the piece of stick, and then they'd pull its head out, and they would chop the head off, and then they would take those sticks with the snapper heads and hang them on a tree, and when the sun went down, then the turtle's head would let go and it would fall to the ground. And they would take bets on which one would let go first when the sun went down.
We thought we were stuck in the middle of nowhere. We were gonna be lost forever.
It is vast, it is secret, it's dark.
But every time you turn around, I mean, now they're talking about these pipelines.
People don't preserve land that they don't know about, and they certainly don't come to love the land that they know nothing about.
Absolutely. In the 60s, they wanted to put the world's largest airport out near Lakeview Township.
Yeah.
The Pine Barrens was about to be destroyed. It was about to be blown away.
In the mid-1960s, a study looked at the possibility of
building a jet port 4 times the size of LaGuardia, Kennedy, and Newark combined.
And it was very serious, very real.
And then John McPhee wrote his book, The Pine Barrens.
John McPhee was one of the most renowned writers of nonfiction in the past 50 years. Fortunately for us, he decides to write a series for the New Yorker about the Pine Barrens. And it was captivating. People all up and down the East Coast were reading about the Pine Barrens. You know, it's one of those wonderful pieces that just pulls you in. McPhee's book was trying to get people to wake up, and he certainly turned on the governor of New Jersey, who took immediate action.
Governor Barrens read John McPhee's The Pine Barrens.
He used whatever executive powers he had until he could have the necessary time to do the study to create this national reserve. The part of it that I love is that it was to include local cultures, specifically cranberries and blueberry growing, and really include them, not push those people out. So it was sort of the idea of a living landscape. To have gotten these counties and townships to agree to it is pretty surprising.
If it wasn't for John McPhee, his book, The Pine Barrens, stopped this from being just a paved over mess.
I think they go like this just to kind of get me to do it. They're just like, hey, you listen to that asshole out there? I get him to do it every time. He comes here and he does it every time. He falls for it every damn time. The Pine Barrens is really the last stronghold for Pine Barrens tree frog. You get them like in the Carolinas, but those are disjunct populations. This is really where you see them. They're about the size of the last digit on your thumb, and they got these beautiful plum. When they get all revved up, it's just this wall of sound. It's really like Phil Spector designed a frog. I mean, it's just a, you know, it's just, yeah, it's fantastic.
That's all right, man. It ain't the cord.
Hey, I think that all folks living in the USA ought to speak our language when they've got something to say. And I think that free men should have a right to speak their mind without the PC police trying to jump them from behind. And if it's all the same to you, I'm gonna keep it doing things that I've always done, like I do. Hey, like I do, like I do. One law at a time, the old ways of life disappear as the American rainbow turns to gray.
I saw the Jersey Devil. I was probably 10 or 11, and the dogs was barking. And they were barking and barking and barking. So I went outside to see what they were barking about. I saw red, fiery eyes, and that's what the dogs were barking about. So I screamed. And I heard now that he does come out in the harvest moon. We'll go looking for him or whatever. Now I'll go swim with him or do something with him. Because, I mean, he's, you know, they say 13th's bad. Hey, I was born on 13th. You know what? I'm a good person. You know, I don't judge anybody. You know, maybe I'll marry him. You know, I'm not married. I would. You know? I really would. And then we'll have 13 children. I don't care. You know? Just never know.
You'll see the elevation start dropping off. And then it starts becoming a narrow footpath. These ATV tracks have me concerned, though. I'm hoping that they don't widen and destroy this trail. It was a great little footpath. I'm seeing all kinds of mountain laurel and turkey beard and all kinds of other plants getting shredded on the sides as they widen the margins of this former footpath. You used to have trailing arbutus out here. They thrive along the sides of footpaths, but they don't really last long when these trails get motorized. Let's just say that. I don't understand why people can't enjoy the place on its own terms. You know, we got enough traffic in this state. Yeah, a year ago, this was a narrow footpath. But the footpaths become ATV paths, and then they become truck trails, and you just see this all over the place. It's becoming a big ATV park out here. And everybody else who isn't into that stuff basically has to stand aside and wring their hands and allow it to happen. For some reason, you know, we think this is normal, that that there should be traffic in a forest, in a state forest on public land. There's a difference between a fire going through here and nourishing the place, and trucks crisscrossing the landscape, ripping up the first foot of topsoil. This actually nourishes the forest. This just, I don't know. I mean, it can be a rejuvenative force if we allow the forest to heal, but we never let it heal. Once these roads are in here, they're in here forever. And now the roads become impassable. This disgusts me. Petulance.
Okay. All right. These are all very popular. You know, since I was a kid and had trouble in school and, you know, I was a badass and always in trouble, always suspended, we would get in a car because we knew where the keys were and drive to the Pine Barrens. I was in a lot of trouble. I was in a lot of trouble. And I was in this car, and Tuesday afternoon, the Moody Blues song came on. And there's a line in that song that says, "The trees are drawing me near, I have to find out." And it just, and from that give me the goosebumps. I was lost in them. I mean, it's my place. And it's very selfish to think that. I know everybody likes to go out there and raise hell, but the Pine Barrens to me is my sanctuary. And to see shit that's going on in there, man, makes you crazy. But that's what the Pine Barrens are to me. I mean, I know it's very important ecologically and this, that, and the other thing, but to me, man, it's a giant green closet to keep the world away. And from that, you respect it because you want it to be there all the time for you. And then the other stuff it you know, gives up is just the bonus. It's a good place just to be and hide from the rest of the crap that's going on in your life.
I think these rural towns know how to govern and preserve to their own liking and their own will, you know. They've overpowered and overregulated. And now what you've got this land that's preserved that you can't even do anything with, you know. We're taxed like you can put a casino out there. Well, you can't put a casino out there. You can't drive a pole in that land. We have to be stewards of what we own. I know how to steward my own land. I don't want any gas here. I don't want any water here. I don't want any sewer here. I don't want anybody tearing my streets up to put pipe in the ground. I don't need somebody from North Jersey telling me how to run Port Republic.
I just cut these weeds back, these chiggers. If you ask me, that's the most fearsome creature in the Pine Barrens, a tiny little chigger. But bayberry is good for keeping your gums and your mouth healthy. And I'll just nibble on that when walking the trail. There's plenty of people that live somewhere and they're just disconnected. They're disconnected from a way of life or where they're from. There's plenty of people who feel that pride, like, you know, I'm from New Jersey. Granted, it's a fraction of my ancestry, but it's like a little extra to that, you know, that I have ancestors that go back thousands of years in New Jersey, not hundreds.
She'll be 4 in November.
Are you going to help me sort? Oh, She threw it back. Whatever time you want to come up. Yeah. If you want to come earlier, we might be here earlier.
Bye, Otto.
Thank you, Otto.
No. But this one is good.
We had the same people that came from Philadelphia every year, and they'd have their own ovens out here, make their own bread, and at night they'd have guitars and harmonicas and make their own music and have dancing and singing. It was sort of a fun place to be during harvest. It was a little village. Like that little yellow house, which was the store. Later on, they used the building for senior citizens that were too old to really work but didn't want to leave the woods, and so they would stay there until they died.
Can I help you, Marianne?
Well, just by filling that box up, you're helping. Filling the box with good berries?
With berries?
Yeah.
No.
At one time, there were like 4,000 cranberry growers. Now there's maybe 35. Yeah, it was like every person had their own personal cranberry bog in Ocean County, Atlantic County, and there was tremendous respect for you if you were a cranberry grower. Now, it's mostly controlled by Ocean Spray, and it's not a brotherhood or sisterhood like it used to be, and so that is one of the most unfortunate things.
Bad. I don't feel like. Can you move? Let me put this right here.
Brendan Byrne had an Irish sense of humor, so he was very witty and dry, but when he believed in something, he really believed in it. Well, I worked for him as a council when he was governor, and one of his main projects was Pinelands preservation, and I was able to work on that and write different speeches. Because we're preserving the people, the history, and the environment, because they're all interrelated. The whole interrelationship somehow is missed a little bit by the Pinelands Commission and the bureaucracy. We have not done a good job of getting that across. I remember thinking that whoever serves on the commission should have to spend a month living with somebody in the Pine Barrens to understand what happens here and what goes on. Well, if you don't spend any time here, I don't see how you can really understand.
Oh, it's a fish. It's a dead baby pickerel. The acidic water doesn't really lend itself well to most fish species. There aren't a lot of large fish out here in the Pine Barrens. You figure this habitat's only been here about 7,000 years. So 7,000 years isn't a very long time for animals to adapt to an environment. Yeah, but give it another million, you'll probably have, some sort of acid-loving sturgeon in here or something like that. Yeah.
But I get into this argument with one friend of mine, is there such a thing as a piney? And I figure it's one of those things that you either see it or you don't. 100 years ago, some of those people in the pines were living the way they would have been living in the 18th century. And that's all gone. I mean, nobody lives that way anymore. It was an anachronism at the time, but that doesn't need to be the prototype. See, I think you could hook like a meter up to somebody and you take them out in the woods. And if the meter's like over in the red zone and they're freaking out, you know they're not a piney.
A lot of people early on moved in the pines were just, you know, for whatever reason, just had it with society, just do their own thing, just by themselves. And sometimes society looks down at that like, how dare you? How dare you drop out?
We still do. We even have laws against them now.
Oh, I know.
See, I think part of it is living in the woods. That goes way back in European culture. Forests are where evil occurs, right? And that's before you get Goddard, who then puts a scientific veneer on it.
Absolutely.
You want to know what those fuckers did? Those goddamn fucking psycho pseudoscience shitheads. So two of the figures that are really key to this whole story are Henry Goddard and Elizabeth Kite out of the Vineland School around 1900, 1912, thereabouts. They're doing their work and they're studying people of the pines as modern sociologists, psychologists, and with these prejudices about people that they consider to be primitive. Goddard publishes a work about the family that he calls the Kallikaks.
It told a story of generations of families who were criminals, illiterate, incestuous, mentally deficient, and just a general burden to society.
He makes up most of their history, and he claims that they're defectives. These aren't just charlatans. These are serious, respected scientists with all the credentials and all of the publication. And they're very influential. People ate it up. People believed it. People from the Vineland School then get pulled into Ellis Island to help identify morons.
It not only impacted the people who lived in the Pine Barrens, but it impacted immigrants who were fleeing Europe.
Because he's arguing that they really need to be reined in and some of them shouldn't be allowed to even procreate. They were figuring, hey, we'll keep them from reproducing and then we won't have any more of them. And so they influence eugenics activities all over the country and in Germany. You know, we don't like to talk about this today, but America was a leader in the eugenics movement.
That view of people who were living off the land went on for many, many years.
So right here in southern New Jersey was the think tank for Nazi eugenics. These families were traumatized by that. That's why some people, you know, may deny being a piney to this day.
President of South Jersey Building Trades. I'm a firm supporter of this project and what Beasley's Point Powerhouse has meant for Atlantic County and Cape May County.
We are 100% in favor of the project. Thank you for your time.
This is a good project. It's going to create a lot of jobs, but even better, we're going to get rid of a coal power plant. Natural gas is much better for the environment. Thank you.
No, it isn't.
3 years ago, the commissioners did the right thing and rejected the exception to be made to allow a gas pipeline through the Pinelands because it violated the comprehensive management plan. Nothing has changed.
It's unacceptable that an area that's critically important for drinking water is being threatened by a pipeline. What you do here in this room will impact generations to come and the water that they drink.
Because at the end of the day, this is about protecting the comprehensive management plan. If we don't have that plan, we don't have the Pinelands.
I've had calls from Native Americans in this area in Bridgeton They want to come. They said they will stand and protect. The Veterans for Peace have also contacted me. You're going to have some trouble on your hands. And it's not a threat. It's not a threat. It's just a fact.
Pretty solid. Right here's where we were. Now try to head out the Sleeper Branch, head a little south, and then head southeast, and then pick up the trail a little bit further south. Yeah, I'm about 6 feet above the water right now. That's Bill. Hey, Bill. I'm in a swamp. How you doing, brother? Well, would you be up for any visitation? Oh, yeah. In fact, I've got food and drink. You got whiskey? Then we're coming. All right, we'll see you in a bit then. All right. Been reading up on ice ages.
You think we're heading into one? I think Boston's going to be under ice for the next year.
Good.
You should go to the North Slope of Alaska because you'd enjoy seeing what South Jersey looked like 30,000 years ago.
You know, every once in a while they'll find skulls of ancient humans whose eye sockets have been pierced by the long teeth of a prehistoric great cat.
Grab people
Yeah, the back.
back of
Yeah,
the-
the back right here. They'll just grab you on the back of your head and, yeah.
There's an anthropologist who came up with the theory that our niche was that we made perfect cat food. And the reason was that they want to drape you over a tree branch. Well, there are a lot of animals you can't drape over a tree branch. Human, you can drag a human up into a tree and drape him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, arms over one way, legs over the other. So we're perfect for keeping up in a branch.
So we're livestock for
Yes.
predatory great cats.
That's his theory.
That's interesting.
Moon's peeking through too. I guess it comes down to is not that I didn't have Lenape ancestors, but it's pretty far back. For some reason, it starts reading on Wiki, everybody's ass up. Far enough back that really can't go around saying I'm Lenape. And part of me felt like, why'd I put in all this time trying to grasp something that wasn't genetically passed down to me? But what are we really, you know, and what makes us up? What makes us have a need for identities to begin with? If anything, I do feel closer to the Pines. We're getting away more and more from the crutch of, well, this is my ancestry, this is where I'm from. The strongest thing in my sense of identity is this land here, just being a part of this land.
You know, I don't know if you heard, but Marianne Thompson died rather suddenly. She went to a conference in Boston, Cranberry Conference, and had a stroke, didn't come home. So it's not clear what's going to happen to the farm. It's hard to imagine the Birches without her. Or without her family. It's been in the Thompson family for over 100 years.
Lost my first dog out here. Fell through the ice, and into the following season, my grandfather pulled him up on the harvesting the berries. He pulled him up on the picking machine. We thought he just ran away, but he fell through the ice. His name was Sparky. He was a Springer Spaniel. The only thing still intact in that house is my old room, where I stayed with my aunt. And that bog right there is where I fell and cracked my head on the ice. It was in this room here. I remember when I was little, staying up here and hearing dogs run on the roof, running through the little door here to my cousin's room, being scared. Didn't give you much room here. I remember it being cold, very cold up here in the wintertime because there was no heat up here. Once a year for 2 weeks. They all sit around the fire at night, played their music, and all day long it was nonstop. There was always a group somewhere playing, sitting in a circle, playing music and telling folklore and things of that nature, you know. There was good times. That's what they enjoyed doing, and they're not doing it no more. And it's not the same.
Hit you. He said, don't worry about Tommy. I got the first shot in, but you would have had to handle the rest.
Way across a horse field, you can see there's like one blue eye staring at us about 4 foot off the ground. And there's only one.
Put the little refrigerator in. He was a little upset with it. He said, that's okay. Uncle George lived it, man. Bootlegs. He beat up a fucking Klansman. Uncle George had a pink car. Yeah, that's Uncle George. This guy kept saying, where are you going to get rid of that damn car? Skinny bastard, he'd fight anybody.
The White Stag, that's a great story. The stagecoach went from Tuckerton to Camden, and they stopped at the Green Bank. It started raining real hard, pouring down rain. All of a sudden, there's this huge white deer standing in front of the stagecoach.
I mean, I've heard many a story of things that have happened in the pines that I think should stay in the pines.
Come on, man. You can't tell me that stuff is true.
I come out of my back door and I'm like, holy, what is that?
The first time you actually smell, burning flesh of somebody, of a human person, you never forget what it smells like. It's like
I've been married 47 years to the same man. And I've always told him, don't piss me off, because I know for a fact that there are about 4 or 5 women that I could call up and say, bring a shovel.
And they all go out to the graveyard in the middle of the night. And great-great-grandfather is the bottom.
I don't really know what's out there. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff out there that's still a mystery.
She looked as fresh the day she was buried because it was the most bizarre sound I've ever heard in my life.
You can't believe the lengths people go to burn something down.
It's like skinning squirrels. The more you do it, the quicker you get back into it.
He picks up this piece of a broken nipple. Did you see this?
And that's Uncle George. So you ask him how many bodies he buried, he wouldn't say.
it was a true story.
My dad swears that the Jersey Devil died in that fight.
And if the White Stag didn't stop the stagecoach, they would all went to Ripley.
Yes.
Nine members of the Pinelands Commission voted for the pipeline application, 5 against, 1 abstained.
The pipeline was approved. The company says it's pleased with the vote, but has not specified when it will start construction.
South Jersey Gas said it appreciates the constructive dialogue.
The Pinelands were created not because John McPhee wrote a wonderful book about the ecology of the pines, but as a blockade from oil and gas pipelines through the Pinelands to the Delaware River.
Jeff Biddle, director of Sierra Club, and I just want to say, we sued you once, we're going to sue you again. This was a sellout of the Pinelands. This was the most shameful episode in 40 years of Pinelands history.
I left the home where I was born many years ago. Times were hard and work was scarce. I had no choice but go. I've been back there many a time, and in my memory of all the places I have been, there's one I'd rather be, where the scrub pine, ground oak, berry bush and sand, it never change, it never will, pine barren land. The pink May fern, the curly fern, the leaves all turning brown, and the water running red in the cedar swamp streams. Pine smoke from the wood fire blowing in the wind, lamplight from the window shining once again. The one-room school, the country store, the folks we used to know. But times have changed and they're all gone a long, long time ago. But the scrub pine, ground oak, berry bush and sand, they never change, they never will, pine barren land. The pink May fern, the curly fern, the leaves all turning green, and the water running red in the cedar swamp streams. Wagon roads that run for miles down through the twisted pines, past little long forgotten towns that fail the test of time. And somewhere there along the way, granite markers cold and gray mark the only ones who stay in the Barrens. Pine